Welcome to Feel Seen Space. We are a digital platform designed for artists and creatives who yearn for more. At a time of massive change, what does it mean to create? What role does artistic expression serve for the individual and the collective? On this podcast, we try to answer these questions by interviewing artists on their holistic creative processes, their work, and their personal journey. Hello and welcome to Feel Seen Space. Today we are really excited to welcome artist Marine Buffard, who is better known on Instagram as @becoming-a-morning-person. Marine's style in illustration and animation is quite distinctive, poetic and otherworldly. But on top of her practice, Marine is also a very deep thinker who analyzes how to take control of your own life, your rhythm, your attention, and how to live by design. Hi, Marine. Welcome to the podcast. We're so happy to have you today. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you. Very happy to be here.
So where are you in the world right now?
I'm based in Paris. I'm in a very, very close suburb of the city.
Your work is beautiful. You work with clients in the US, in Asia. You work for The New Yorker, The New York Times, Hermes. We would like to hear more about your creative process and how did you start?
Well, how did I start? I think I have like a very straightforward and very classical path. Unfortunately, it's not super interesting. I just started to draw very early. And then I wanted to do studies in illustration and animation. But because I wasn't from a very creative family and I didn't have like any network or, knowledge of how the industry worked, I just had like ideas or like maybe even like dreams, imagination of how it worked. I was like, maybe it's going to be safer to study graphic design. And so a lot of illustrators actually do that. They do graphic design first and then naturally as their work unfolds, their practice unfolds, they go back to illustration. So yeah, that's what happened with me. Started graphic designer and came back to illustration.
Interesting. You said you didn't grow up in a creative family. Were there someone in your entourage or a mentor that saw the potential and really pushed you?
No, I grew up in a very traditional middle class, not traditional because my parents are hippies, but it was a middle class family with no artistic no one had an specific art interest. And I guess it seems very normal and maybe basic today, but at the time I feel it wasn't always. Like I had a lot of friends, their parents pushed activities on them or ideas of careers or projects, and it wasn't really the case. My parents were really interested of what we were interested to and driven towards to. So they were like, oh, what is this young person gonna want to do? And so they pushed us to explore what we liked. So even if I wasn't in a creative family, they pushed us to explore what we liked, and I liked creation. So
you had the support from your family to be creative. You felt pretty free in choosing your path, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you started to write about becoming a morning person. So I read your Substack and it's really inspiring. I would like to hear if there's an event that pushed you to become a morning person.
I guess it's like many people, when you start to construct yourself, you sometimes build yourself with like representations and ideas of what you're going to be when you grow up. And for me, I had like all those representation of what was supposed to be a successful woman in the creative industry. And it was, we just talked before launching the podcast a little bit about how we sometimes are surrounded by the American, like USA soft power with TV shows and films that are very structural, especially in the 90s, early 20s. And I remember watching Sex and the City and Carrie Bradshaw and being like, okay, so this is what a successful person looks like. living in the city, working a creative job, early in the morning doing Pilates or I don't know. I don't remember now. So I tried to become a morning person because I guess this is the main model that was pushed on most TV shows that I was maybe watching or like books I was reading. But actually, it turns out that it's just not my rhythm. So, so it
Mm.
never happened.
So finally, what is your rhythm? Like when you feel creative, you respect that, or you really try to have a discipline?
I have no discipline, no
Okay.
discipline in my body. I just go with the flow. And I tried disciplined a lot. I tried so many techniques and books, and I even did like hypnotherapy to try to become a morning person, and it just never worked because I guess that's
Mm.
just not like I wake up early, but I hate working early in the morning. Like I walk my dog, I have a nice cup of coffee, I read a couple of pages of a book, I just chill, and I kind of like it.
Yeah, I feel you. Sometimes do you feel guilt because society push you to be productive, and then when you are a creative person, sometimes you're just like, no, this is really not my rhythm. I work better at night. How did you work with the stigma of saying, no, it's not for me?
Yeah, so, well, two things. The first one is that very conveniently, most of my clients are US based. So this is a good excuse. So that's the first one. And then I guess it's actually a big privilege to be able to work following your own rhythm. Not a lot of people can do that because, well, when you've got a job at a company, sometimes you've got to work with other people and to comply to several time frames. So being able to not having to do that is actually uh, a chance.
Yeah.
So this is maybe how I frame it. I'm not guilty because I'm just lucky, I guess.
Yeah, we need to reframe that. Absolutely. I'm curious to hear more about your process. You're an illustrator, designer, animator. When you have a brief from a client, how does it start for you?
Well, it depends on the scale of the project, and editorials is very specific because they usually need the illustration for yesterday. You've got no time to do them, which is like very exciting because no time means you need to be very quick to get ideas, to get inspiration, and it's almost like some kind of small, quick creative exercises that you could have at school in art and design school. So I just straight away sketch. It's messy. I send the sketches and the ideas, and then I just do a finalized animation or illustration when something is validated. But it's quick. While sometimes when it's like more heavier productions, there's more writing about the storyboard, what's going to unfold, maybe more references, maybe more sketches and intent before developing actually the project.
And do you feel it's truly a collaboration? You present something that is maybe not fully finished, or you want to show the client exactly what you want to be the final project?
It actually really depends on the client and who is on the other end of the deck or the sketch I'm going to share. When I work for the press, it's easy because I usually work with art directors or graphic designers or illustrators themselves, so they know, like they can receive a messy sketch and they will know how to read it and they won't be scared and they will know that it will going to look great in the end. They trust the process. But sometimes when you work for bigger clients and you've got marketing team involved and they are not always super comfortable with rough sketches or rough ideas, and they can panic a little bit if they don't have like something a little bit more streamlined. So yeah, it depends really.
And you're talking about being very intentional. I mean, there's so much noise, so many images. Social media also doesn't help sometimes to be creative. Like you said, if you can commit to nothing, you'll be distracted by everything. And I think this is very powerful. So, how do you feel you live a more intentional life in your creative practice?
First, I turned off the noise. So I have deleted most of social media. They're not on my phone. So if I need to use them for my work or for a specific research purpose, I have to go on my work device to actually do what I wanted to do on them. And for the ones that I had to keep on my phone, like there's only one actually, and it's Instagram because sometimes I have messages in the app or stuff like this, I have 3 different ways to lock it, which are very, very frustrating and painful. So it takes me so long to actually access the app that I usually don't, because just the idea of doing it, I'm just like, ugh, no, I'm not going to do that. And so first is fighting yourself on this. So I try not to be distracted by all of that, and actually it works quite well with me. And then I don't know, for me the hardest is to start actually doing something. I can procrastinate a lot and not start drawing for a while, but then the hardest is actually to start. Once I started drawing, or even if it's bad and not well done, it just like initiates a movement, and then it just goes, and very easily I start to get almost into something, a kind of zone where I manage to just to unfold the process. It seems easy. I don't know.
So I guess you're embracing slowness in your practice.
Yeah, because when you try to force, I mean, some people maybe who have like more discipline can, it's maybe like a muscle and you can force yourself to, there's like famous authors, I'm not sure which one it is, but who really had like time frames where they forced themselves to write a certain amount of pages every day. First, it seems dreadful to me, but I guess it works for some people because like it's a muscle and they just keep training it. While I just try to initiate the process of making, and then it happens, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but I can't really control the outcome.
I'm also curious to understand the way you work in collaboration with different people. Like you do everything or you outsource for some of the project you have?
So it depends. There have been like large scale projects that I did 100% alone. And I try not to do that anymore for several reasons. First, because animation is very time consuming. It's like a lot of drawings that you need to put. It's old school, like there's no shortcut. You need to draw every single frame and to put them all together. And you draw the same thing a lot of time because first there's the rough, then there's the sketch, then you've got the intervals, then you've got the cleans, then you've got the colors, then you've got the texture. So, you know, the amount of times you need to do the same drawing is actually... It's actually intense. So on bigger projects, it's better to have people who help you. So first for the time constraints, and then it's also because, well, a lot of people are way better than me at what they do. So it's actually amazing to be able to collaborate with people who have like more technical profiles and that can actually find solutions to things you wouldn't even think there is a solution. You've been used to draw or to do something a certain way. And you're just like, yeah, it's going to be like that. And someone is just like, it doesn't have to be, because this person actually know how to fix your issues that you didn't even know it was an issue, but it is. And also it's just interesting to work with people. You've got more flexibility. They are creative too. They bring something to the process. So I really enjoy when I have this opportunity to work with people. Yeah.
And also it makes your project stronger because you can bounce back ideas, because it can be lonely at times. You need like an external perspective. In terms of collaboration, do you feel building this Substack build the community around you and your work?
Actually, no.
Interesting.
It's funny because it used to be a newsletter that I did on MailChimp, and I've been writing since I can write. I have diaries since I was a kid, and I keep them. I love that. I keep writing a lot daily. And so sometimes I was like, okay, there's things that I like to write, but maybe these could be letters, but to people that maybe I don't know. And that's how the newsletter started, where I ramble about random things, and sometimes people just relate, so I think it's fun because then it initiates discussions and it's super interesting. But actually it was a newsletter on MailChimp, but I didn't expect people to actually subscribe to it, but they did. And eventually you've got like a limit. Then it's super expensive to send a newsletter. And I was, well, I need to find another solution because it starts to get really expensive just to send news. And so I just arrived on Substack. And I have had good conversations thanks to it, because I guess that what I wrote about the intent to live by design and to be more purposeful and intentional in every thing that we do or we consume is something that we all feel, because we all feel maybe a little bit exhausted by the constant stream of content and attention that is required from us. But I'm not sure that actually changed anything with my practice. I don't think that my clients actually read it. I don't think that artists I worked with even know it exists. I don't know. I think it's separate.
So it's more just an outlet for you to put your thoughts on the page, and it's almost like a release.
Yeah, I guess it is. It's things that I think about all the time and that sometimes also translate into animations and drawings. And then I just want to put them somewhere else, like outside of my head. And it's incidental, but also beautiful if it speaks to someone else. So, yeah.
And if you would have one advice that you would give to someone that feel a bit lost or want to listen to their own rhythm to create, what would be your advice?
I don't know, maybe to ask why she would like to comply to another rhythm in the first place. Because I guess that I stopped wanting to become a morning person, not because I wasn't succeeding at being one, but because I realized that it was pointless to actually want to live by a standard like rhythm that wasn't like why would I even desire and want to comply to this, which is so unnatural to me. So I guess that maybe it's just taking a step back to observe and to question the motivations that drive maybe this quest. I don't know.
Do you ever lose track on your creative projects? Maybe you're a professional artist or creative, but what used to be your passion now feels uninspiring. Or maybe you decided to pursue a safer career path, but you just know you have that artistic side of you that's dying to come out. At Feel Seen Space, our mission is to get you back in touch with your creativity, your flow, and your purpose. If you're ready to feel seen, we offer one-on-one holistic mentoring sessions designed to reconnect you to your inner artist. You'll find all the information at the link in the show notes. We hope to see you soon.
I wanted to dive more into your aesthetic and your style because you have a very distinctive style. And I just wanted to know, how did you get there? Is it something that grew steadily with your practice ever since you were a little girl? Or did you feel at some point that you found the thing that was going to be your thing?
It's funny because I think that when you start to build a style, you don't realize it when you do it, but it's retrospectively when you look at your old works that you can see, oh, okay, it was already there maybe. And when I watched like my very first sketchbook from when I was in first year of art school, so quite a long time ago now, you already see something that's very close to my style today. And actually what started this style was the fact that I wasn't very good at drawing. And because I was not technically very strong, I wasn't strong, but I was like a little bit smart. So I was using fuzzy textures and pastel colors to put in the places that I couldn't perfectly outline. And I just put some very straight and clear lines that suggested the drawing a little bit more, like the shapes, just to inform you on what was happening in the image. And so it's because I didn't know how to draw well that I used it, and I guess it just stayed after.
And it's funny because now you work with digital tools, but you still have that very charming feel. It feels like it's on paper. It feels very, like out of time.
Yeah, maybe. I still like to animate and draw on paper sometimes. It's just that for production flexibility and constraints, it's easier to be all digital, I guess. But I'm reverting, like some of my latest projects are like a little bit more mixed media, and I'm reverting to that. But I try to keep the same feel, the same outlook because I like it.
Yeah, it's very healing to look at. It's not like so busy and attention grabbing like a lot of the things we see on social. And so I'm also curious about how much of your practice now is dedicated to personal projects, because you seem to be very busy with your commercial and editorial jobs. But do you intentionally carve time out to experiment, or is that something that you naturally do?
So I try to have time to experiment. The reality is that it's not always easy, but you've got to force yourself, I guess, because otherwise, like you always do the same thing, then it can get a little bit boring. Last year, I managed to put like a lot of time aside to experiment. I haven't shared a lot of it because I think I'm actually also enjoying having it private and let the thing form and take the time to come back to it and see if I still like it and see how it evolves. But yeah, I try to have a lot of time dedicated to it now. And if I said I wasn't disciplined, that's partly true because I try to really force myself to have this time for experimentation. And I don't know if it will happen. I'm not 100% sure right now because I'm in the writing process, so it's like a whole other thing. But I'm trying to work on my first short movie, where
Amazing.
I have a short film where I will try to make something that's more experimental because there's no commercial appeal to it. Like when you do a short film, it's just like to tell a story. Yeah.
So exciting. And I guess that's also relates to what you were saying earlier about how with everything becoming more and more fast paced, it's like we have to show things as they are made. And sometimes for a project to become better, you need that quiet time of putting it aside, looking back again, and for it to grow at a more sustainable rhythm. Is that something that time to process that maybe is missing from your commercial projects?
Yeah, and also because you've got like you've got time constraints, but you've got also just constraints because you've got to sell a product. You've got to tell like it's not just telling a story because you've got the personal drive to tell something. It's also because there is a brief. So you're not the one deciding on the frame. So it's super interesting. And like, I'm very thankful for those opportunities because I wouldn't be able to work and live without them. So it's also very interesting and fun to try to find freedom and experimentation within a frame, even if it's a commercial one. But it's 100% not the same than when you've got a personal project and you can have like all the time you want and you need just to try to make something unfold. And especially when you work in like short films, short animated films, it's like a very expensive, and when you think about it in terms like really of product, not very useful product because it's a lot of time just to do like a couple of images. And so I think this is also what's beautiful about it, because you just do it for the sake of something that's more artistic and because you want to share a story or a vision with some people. And so yeah, I think you need time for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds more like a craft and a less industrial pace. And so also today, a lot of artists seems to have various sources of income, from like selling prints to working for companies to being content creators. Like, where do you stand on all these different revenue streams?
So most of my revenues come from commercial work. I have still some maybe royalties sometimes, but it's actually very minimal. I don't sell prints. I used to do it, but I actually hate the logistic of it, like having to print stuff and to package them and to go to the post office and everything. Like really, I hated it so much. So I don't do it. Sometimes some people just text me on Instagram and say, hey, do you still have prints? And then I will sell them, but I closed the shop, so I don't sell them anymore. And content creator, I don't really enjoy this. I actually did only two kind of ads partnership. I don't really even know how to call them, but which can be tied to content creation, influence, which were only for tools that I actually use in my practice. So it was for the Adobe suite. So I use Photoshop and After Effects a lot. And for Lenovo, which is a tablet that I use also for animation. But I try to let them, one, be minimal because that's not something I'm super comfortable doing, and also only things that I align with my work. But yeah, I guess that's it, mainly commercial work.
Yeah. So that makes you a very like the antithesis of an influencer who just sells whatever comes her way. You seem to be very, very mindful also of your audience and to take people's attention seriously.
Yeah, but also because it's not my job. It's not the same job. Like, I wouldn't expect of a content creator or an influencer to necessarily be super aligned with everything they sell, because you can't. You still have like bills to pay and everything. Of course, they will have to jump on opportunities even if they are not 100% aligned with their intent of being. But I have the option not to do that.
Yeah.
So I don't.
Yeah. Perfect. I also wanted to dive a little bit into your spirituality or your link to spirituality, because I remember reading still in that Substack, which is so rich, that you have had a sort of defiance towards New Age spirituality and everything that comes with it. But then you discovered meditation. And so I just wanted to know now where you stand on that whole spectrum.
So I'm very cautious about everything that is tied to New Age ideology, beliefs, and spirituality because it tends to be very easily commodified and packed into a product. And we try to sell you something more than we try to actually give you tools to free you from things that you're trying to escape from. And also because I grew up in a New Age cult. So I know how sometimes people will just, the thing is with beliefs, they are not always just beliefs. They can also, you identify to them and soon they just become also the extension of the self. And then it's way harder to put them in question and to actually escape from them. And then it's easy to be just trapped in the shadow of your own obscurantism in some way. So I'm very cautious about that. And this is why especially when we are in a period with a lot of crises politically, ideologically, economically, everything, it's easy to try to find refuge in that kind of things, and it's easy for people to take advantage of that. So this is why I'm cautious, not because I'm against everything, just because I try just to be informed in my practices. But I did practice meditation, and I still do. I actually deepen my practice a lot. I meditate twice a day, every day, and it's probably one of the best things that happened to me. And I don't know, this is why I said the whole thing about beliefs before, almost like a trigger warning disclaimer. When I started the specific kind of meditations that I do, I didn't expect much. And just after it worked for me, I managed to harness the practice. I was the same person, but in the same time, I wasn't. It feels like, I don't know, it feels like your body is a device and I just have to add like an upgrade of software. I don't know if it makes sense. Like I feel better in everything that I do, and I don't react the same way of things, and so yeah.
That's interesting for me, because I don't know if we don't have the same practice, but it feels like you're living in this little cage where you're kind of like stuck in your own thoughts and beliefs, as you were saying, and that rigid idea of how things are, and then it's like you escape. So it's like everything becomes wider and broader, and you're calmer.
Yeah.
And in what way did that impact your artistic practice?
It did impact it tremendously, I'd say, because now I work a lot more privately. I don't share a lot of what I do. It changed the pace of everything. And because it changed the pace of everything, it also changed the feeling side to it. So I felt like I had to experiment and try things for the sake of experimenting and trying things just to stay relevant and not to be like completely swallowed like by trends or social media and things like that. And actually I had lost joy and interest and fun to exhaustion just because I tried to keep up with this pace. And thanks to meditation, I guess, because I think it's really correlated to this moment, I found more space and time to experiment, and I found joy and fun again into doing it. So that's nice.
So I'm guessing from all of that, you're not on TikTok?
I actually have a TikTok.
Yeah.
So TikTok, same, not to be addicted to it because it's actually very addictive. It's on the phone of my boyfriend, so I can spend a lot of time on it because he usually needs his phone and he's not home, like I can use it maybe, I don't know, like 10 minutes a day. He just then he needs his phone back. I like to be on TikTok because I'm very curious and I like to know what are people doing, what are the topic of conversation. But I just don't want to be dependent on it and to be addicted to it, and it's very addictive. So I just don't want to have it on me.
But it's funny how we're all developing tactics that are really that of addicts. To be
Yeah.
like, hey, I'm going to put it in the next room. Have you seen these new devices where you have to physically put your phone on something to be open to?
But I have it.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I do. I have it. It's a little break.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. 100% recommend. I told you, I have like I have an addict personality. If I don't force myself not to have those things, like they could like I could spend so much time on them and I wouldn't feel good about anything. Because like it's actually like I spend 10 minutes on TikTok and I already feel like shit. Like everything is so scary and reactive on it. So
Yeah, and it feels like it's stealing all of the emotions and just putting them in that one tiny little box where you're like excited, outraged, happy,
Yeah.
something sad, and then you close it and everything seems numb because you're not constantly being bombarded. So it just kind of makes life dull, I think.
Yeah, and also because of the format, because it's so short and they need to catch your attention very fast. You have no place for nuance, no place for actual information, for depth. And I guess that always putting you in a place where everything is built and engineered to make you react, I think it's so bad, like really so bad for yourself. So already spending 10 minutes on it, I'm already like, okay, that's a good thing that I don't have access to it all the time because I will just like spend my days scrolling and feeling bad, yeah.
But your boyfriend is not addicted then? He can just have it on his phone?
He never actually opened it. Like he just uses it when I'm like, oh, look at this video of a cute cat or whatever, and that's it.
And then, yeah, on top of that whole spiritual side of your work and life, there's also a political side. And I don't know if you are happy to talk about it or not, but you write about the commodification of art and it turning into content. And I guess it always is ties to our conversation. But what do you think differentiates content from art?
I think we are at a point where we confuse and conflate a lot of things because it serves the dominant system in place. I think we mistake subjectivity with identity, we mistake content with art, we mistake happiness with joy, and everything is it's just a mix of everything, and people can't situate themselves anymore in everything. And when I say people, I include myself in people. I'm people. So yeah, I think we just scroll and we think we are experiencing art, but it's just content, and the difference is just it's in the transcendence, the intricate transcendence that art brings to you, the ability to make yourself, but like really the self expand in something that is more than function, not a biological mammal biped on having to stay alive and reproduce, but also not function like a consumer and worker for capitalism. Like to exceed and expand and transcend your function and to be moved by something that is more important and transcendental. So I guess this is what art is to me. And I think this is the difference of content, that content is maybe more images or films or whatever, the format that are built to follow a specific frame, which is usually defined to fit some metrics, like the metrics of the algorithm, the format, the square format of Instagram, the colors that are trending in the moment, the brief of the client I want to push a brand, and all of the things that just put something which is more of a product. That's something that is a truly transformative experience meant to make you feel more than just what you are. I don't know if...
No, that makes a lot of sense. I'm thinking because I always think about like the masters in paintings, because that's like this idea that we have about art, But even then, they had the paintings that they did for themselves, and there was the painting that they did to eat, to represent the rich guy's wife. And I wonder if they felt like that already, because now when we see these canvases, we're like, oh my God, that's art,
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe you've got some content that can be artistic, and maybe art can be also put, like if you take a picture of a piece of art and you put it on Instagram, then it becomes a piece of content. But is it less a piece of art? Maybe not. Maybe it's the mediation, the problem, and not the art in itself. Maybe it's all more complicated than that, but I still think that the art which is consumed through the phone, like scrolling and not spending a lot of time on it, or being like, oh, wow, this is pretty, I like it, and then just forgetting about it because it's like diluted in the experience of a lot of things that are like superposed on the same time. Yeah. I still think that push is more something that is a sort of bulimia of consumption than actually you being in a setup that allows you to make the full experience of this artistic piece.
That actually reminds me, I don't know if you've seen this exhibition in Paris of Eva Jospin and her beautiful sculptures. And I never thought much about it seeing the photos, but then being in that space and being surrounded by work that is so intricate and where you can literally measure the time that was spent to make these little engravings of tiny bits of paper and embroideries, and just that, you're in awe of what humans can achieve when they put their time and intention on the same thing. And I feel like we're really missing that at the moment. So I'm really looking forward to see your short movie whenever that comes out. I don't know if you have a deadline or if that's completely open.
Well, that's completely open.
I'm sure it will be amazing. Yeah, thank you so much.
Well, thank you for hearing me rambling.
We have the same rambling, so it's great.
Thank you so much.
That's it for today's episode. We thank our guests for their trust, and we thank you for being a part of our community. If you like this episode and want to support our work, consider ranking our podcast on Apple or Spotify. And if you know someone who could benefit from this conversation, please share our work with them to help them spread the dream of a conscious, creative community. Talk soon.